Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video. It's all about canning apples, but I'm going to tell you a lot about my life that I never shared before. Like Bill Gothard, you mean I was under his teaching as a young girl, and from the age of 5 I was taught homemaking. And what are my thoughts? They're very different than what you see a lot of YouTube people talk about when you're talking about, well, the very conservative way that women were raised and are raised today. Good morning everyone, and welcome to today's video. I thought I would talk to you a little bit about the lessons that my mother taught me as being an ultra conservative mom, and what she taught me and how she got me ready for being my own homemaker and my own wife and mother. And it's going to be very interesting because for some of you this may seem really drastic, but this was my life, and growing up and learning how to be a homemaker the way my mother was taught and the way her mother was taught. Today I am making some apple pie filling. I have a full tutorial on that, and I will share that at the end of this video. But first, let's go ahead and let's get making our apple pie filling. I have a lot of it to make. These apples I received free from different places. I had different people give me apples, and it's such a blessing, but I need to get them preserved for the long winter. I'm also going to be making some apple crisp. It is a recipe that was handed down through the generations. So let's get mixing up the apple pie filling. The ingredients, because this is a little bit different than some of my pie fillings, this is going to be apple pie filling the Mennonite way. It's 12 cups of sugar, 2 1/4 cups of clear gel, 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of salt, 5 quarts of apple juice or water, 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, and then it's 12 quarts of apples. I'm not sure exactly how many apples I have, but I'm sure it's close to that. I may need to make a little more pie filling if I need to. We will do that. So the first thing we're going to do is the 5 quarts of water or apple juice. Apple juice makes it so much better. I'm not sure if I have 5 quarts. I'll have to probably add some water to it. What we're going to do is we're going to mix this all together. Then I'm going to heat it on the stove until it's thickened, and then we'll get talking a little bit about what did my mom teach me from very little. I think I was probably 5 years old when I was starting to learn about being a homemaker and a stay-at-home mom. And she taught me all through my childhood and my growing up years. And as many of you know, I got married at age 17, and I learned all of these things that helped equip me for a beautiful marriage. So let's go ahead and let's mix up this pie filling real quickly first, and then we'll continue talking about the subject. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up our apple pie filling. It's just so simple and easy. My mom made this too. Now, she didn't can hers. She would just make a little bit at a time. But my mother loved making pies. First thing my mom ever taught me was when I get up in the morning, I'm to get dressed right away. One thing my mother never did was walked around the house with her pajamas on. My mother always, as soon as she woke up, she made her bed, she got dressed, she even wore shoes. She was very strict about wearing shoes. She said when you wear shoes right away in the morning, it sets your mind to work. As you know, I love being barefoot. I don't wear shoes, but first thing in the morning, I always get dressed and I always make our bed. That was a really big, important thing for my mother, and that was to always be ready right away in the morning. Another thing my mom always taught me was when my husband comes home from work, give him 1 hour without fussing or complaining or telling him about anything that has to do with stress. My mom always said that it's very important that when the husband comes home from work, he's greeted with a happy, loving wife. Another thing my mom always said was to change into clean clothing before hubby came home from work. If you were dirty or if you worked out in the garden, brush your hair and have clean clothes on. That was something very important for my mother as well. My mother took stay-at-home living and being a home wife extremely important. She had it down to a science, how her life and her household ran. And let me tell you one thing, she was efficient, organized, and everything was done to perfection. My mother was a complete perfectionist, but she enjoyed especially cooking in the kitchen. My mother would be found in the kitchen at all times of the day, from morning, noon, to afternoon. She was always cooking, and she cooked almost always by scratch. Her pies were one of her favorite things to make, and she did it absolutely amazing. All right, I debubbled all the jars. Because it's so sticky and messy, it's really important that you wipe your rims really well. So I'm going to go ahead, wipe up these rims. Now, I don't have them as full as what I normally would with canned food, because it will bubble up. So it's important that we don't fill it too overly full. A few of them are a little fuller, and I might have to take a couple out. All right, so now I'm gonna make the topping for my apple crisp. I made this about 1.5 years ago. It's absolutely amazing. It is pie topping mix in a jar. I'll share that video at the end of this one. So basically all we do is we add butter to the topping mix, and we're going to cut it up and mix it up really well. It's oatmeal, brown sugar, all kinds of amazing things in it. So we're just going to break it apart and put it on top of our apple crisp. Crumbs that make it really good. We're going to bake this at 350 for about 20 minutes. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and wash this kettle. It's really sticky from all of that apple. One of the things that surprises some people was I was under the teaching of Bill Gothard for many years. Online, you will see a lot of videos and a lot of people that talk negative about Bill Gothard. Now, I really don't know anything about his life personally, but his books and his teachings were something that it was instilled in me ever since I was a young girl. A lot of people would say that the way my upbringing was extremely, people would say that my upbringing would have been extremely difficult. Some people even say abusive. But I have a different outlook on things, and I want to share that with all of you a little bit, because my outlook is a little different in the fact that I'm not upset or disgruntled or negative about my upbringing. In fact, it taught me a lot. It taught me to appreciate life, and it actually taught me perseverance, and it also taught me to work hard to achieve the things that I want in life. We'll go rinse this out. So the Bill Gothard, the way they would have raised young women would have been that God is the head of the home, then the husband, then the wife. Some modern women and some women don't like the idea of them being under their husband, or some husbands took it too far and were very mistreating of their wives. I didn't have any of that. I had a strict wife upbringing, a strict homemaking upbringing, but my husband was very loving. And I never wanted to be the one ahead of my home. I've always wanted my husband to be the head of my home, and I've always wanted to be the homemaker that you hear in Titus in the Bible and in Proverbs. Yes, a lot of people take it too far. A lot of people do take it. A lot of men will take it to the next step, and they are very verbally abusive to their wife, or they don't treat their wives very nice. But that's not how God intended it to be. And I really enjoyed growing up with the environment that I did. One of the things that would have been the most challenging was the fact of money. I never grew up around money. My husband did all the finances. He would give me cash, what I needed. I didn't have extra money. I never knew what it was like to have money until only a few years ago. So that would have been one of the biggest disgruntlements that people have, was that it was about money. So the woman a lot of times wasn't given the opportunity to have money in her wallet to be able to budget it or to be able to use it how she wished. That was a big thing for me. And looking back, that was one of the things that I found hard, was seeing other girls my age going to the store, going places, and I typically didn't do that. I was at home most all the time with my children. And that was a hard thing at the time, but why I am not thinking that anymore is because all those years, it made me so appreciative to what I had. I learned to think outside the box. I had learned to do things that other girls were doing, but it didn't cost me any money. It's just that's the way it is for me. Like I always say the example that my sister-in-law had beautiful candles and she had all of these things and I wasn't allowed to have that. I didn't have money for that. But then I learned to make my own candles, and I would melt crayons and I would find vanilla in the kitchen cupboard and I would add my own vanilla to it. And all of those things helped me to just enjoy life more. And so while that was a hard life, and while I don't condone a lot of things that had to do with just that whole generational thinking and stuff like that, I do think I choose to look on a positive way, and I choose to look at it as, you know what, I'm not upset by it. It made me stronger. It made me who I am today, and it made me appreciate just the little things in life. Things that are entertaining. If I just sat and just talked, it's not much fun for people. If I do another pie filling, that's not much fun for people either. So I thought maybe I could try something different and combine a subject that has to do with my life while I'm working. That way it's a little more interesting. Hey, you gotta give me an A for effort, right? Take care, everyone. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow.